All right, today we have Coach Travis Robinson on to chat, also known as Mr. Empty over Twitter. Coach Robinson is a college football coach in Texas, so to me, he's definitely big time. Coach Robinson is heavily influenced by the air raid, loves to empty it out, sling the rock around, and have some fun doing it. Aside from coaching, he's also breaking down videos on YouTube and now runs the Emptyology Telegram group chat. So if you've ever looked at a video on YouTube and it was by the football nerd, well, that's him. And if you haven't, go check it out. There's some great stuff there. I've recently watched a few of them and they're great. So make sure you go follow Coach Robinson at Coach underscore Travis R on Twitter, and check out the Football Nerd on YouTube. And I'll make sure I put the all the links in the description below. Give him a follow, and without further ado, I'll pass it over to Coach. The floor is yours, Coach.
Well, yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on, Josh. I mean, it's an honor. Anytime any coach wants to talk football, I'm always all for talking football. It's definitely been a journey for me. Um, you know, I, the big thing that comes to me, or especially from other coaches, is being a young coach like myself, and it's funny just the different routes that I've been in. And when I started knowing what I was going to coach, I was still in high school. I was still a young kid, but I was reaching out. I was learning what I could. And what's funny is like the biggest advice I could give anyone, that I give anyone, as old as me, or younger than me, would just be, it's like we live in such a great age to learn football, with all the technology and everything that you got, like in like this situation
Yeah.
here, and like my YouTube channel, which I did it, because coaches when I was younger, and still now, other coaches helped me learn what I know now. And it's funny because if it was, I've learned a lot. I learned a ton from the college that I got to coach at last year. That was a great experience. I learned a ton from there. But it's like if you were just to collectively give me everything I've just learned, just purely off of just watching the film that had the schools and stuff like that, it's like 90% of the rest of what I've learned is from other coaches online and Twitter and YouTube, and just coaches texting me and calling me and Zoom calls and stuff like that. I've learned more than I can count in this little quarantine thing that I've learned in a long time. Just because all coaches have to do now is sit down, and they can sit down at 1 p.m. when they're supposed to be teaching a classroom. But now they can talk ball with you, and it's great. And it's you learn more. Um, but the biggest thing, the biggest advice I can give anyone is just like do not be afraid to reach out to anyone. And that's what I try to do, is I try to be as open as possible. It's just like, you want to learn something, man, I will share it with you, because I'm going to say that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. But what I do know is I know that, you're reaching out to me because you don't know something. I'm going to share that knowledge with you so you can know it, because we're not doing this for us. We're doing this to, make our team better, to help these kids out, and we want to attack the best possible. We may have something we love. I love Empty to death,
Yep.
but how can I utilize Empty the best? Well, it's like, well, Coach Robinson may know this, or Coach blah blah may know this. So it's that's just the biggest advice I can give someone, is just don't be afraid to reach out, and that goes with anything. There you go with leadership. It doesn't always have to go with X's and O's.
Yeah.
So but I mean that's just the biggest thing that as far as advice before I start blabbing about Empty. And, I always got to put that piece in, because just like, you know, don't be afraid to shoot your shot in this age, man.
Yeah.
It's, you never know who you'll learn from. You never know what you get your hands on. A lot of people ask me, like, you know, uh, about some certain offense. I'm like, what do you know about, Ohio State's offense? What do you know about Mike Leach's offense? So it's like, well, here's about 2 seasons of film. Go have fun with that. So I mean, it's like, if
Yeah.
I may have a little time to talk about it, but it's like, I could sit here and tell you, well, they do this and this and this, but you're not going to be able to vision it.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, you can go watch about 24 games of film and you're set. You'll learn a lot more than watching the guy who does it best, than just learning from me.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why, I mean, I've collected film and stuff, but That's why I usually have no problem with sharing that stuff, just because it's like, yeah, I've collected it, but I'm not, going to be one of those coaches that's just holding it down and being like, no, I'm not going to share this. This is mine.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, there could be film that's sitting in my little bank of film that's been sitting there for like 20 months that I haven't touched yet. So it's like another coach would be using that more than I could be.
Yeah.
So, for anyone, at least for myself, and there's tons of coaches out there, but anyone, at least I can say this, who wants film, who wants to talk, that's why I have no problem ever sharing it. I've run to hard-leaning situations where coaches, are backstabbing the situation, but it's like, it doesn't happen. So, but yeah, that's my little rant about that for a little bit, but just, that's my biggest advice I can give someone.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to go up to empty, coach, I can start sharing my screen.
Yeah, for sure.
There we go. All right. See that okay?
Yep. We're all good there.
All right. So I just wrote this out real quick, and this is like Coach said, big 5-wide empty guy. Before I go on this, what made me who I am about empty and stuff like that is when I was younger, it was a funny part is in high school, I played running back, fullback, and I formation my whole life. I had maybe one season where I played in like a pistol air raid kind of system, and that was about it. And it's funny now. I love to throw the ball. I could not tell you why on any way on earth. I cannot tell you where that came from. I just love it. So I kind of became like an air raid guy, like you mentioned earlier. And, Mike Leach was my first love. I got that, a lot of people probably heard from Drew Piscopo. He taught me a lot of stuff. So, I kind of implied that when I got the chance to coach. He had a small private school. That's the kind of stuff we implied there. But I've always been like a big empty guy, at heart. It's always been my favorite thing, whether it's a formation, however, it was in any kind of offense. It was always my favorite thing. Where the 5-wide came from, and you could technically say it's two different things. I believe empty is, a package you use in an offense. So say, if you're air raid or, maybe, I don't know, any offense you run, empty is just a package to me, which is still great. It's my favorite formation, but 5-wide to me that's an offense, if that makes sense. So the reason I became 5-wide was just growing up, I don't know how I fell upon it, but Kenton High School in Ohio, here in the States, they were one of the first ever just to do it 5-wide primarily, and they still do it. The guy who was there, Mike Mock, he went to Glendale, Missouri. He's still doing it there. And then, a school, one of their rival schools who's in their district, they learned it from them. And now I kind of, their high school name's Camden, and I kind of learned stuff from them. And I'm good friends with the head coach there. So it's just like a big trickle-down tree. And it's just, but they all do things different ways. It's not like all the same passing system, stuff like that. So and I'm kind of the same way, but, I grew up watching it. I fell in love with it. And it just, I believe it was the best thing on earth. And here are at least in my reasons why I'm 100% 5-wide. And I also believe these can be, some reasons why, people should at least carry empty air in their package, or maybe there's a coach out there considering 5-wide, and maybe I can convince them somehow. All right. So, the first point, and I think this kind of goes where I just said both 5-wide and empty, is it puts the defense in the most uncomfortable spot possible. So, so for example, okay, let's say, all right, we're in a 3-by-1 set. All right, but, still got it back in the backfield, whatever you want. Okay, well, now say I motion that back out, right? Now it's into empty. Well, now you just put the defense in the most vulnerable spot possible. All right, it's just one of those situations where it's, that defense prepared for you in a 4-2 box, a 4-3 box, however they did. Well, it's like, okay, now your thing is like, well, do I motion, does the linebacker motion out with them? Does the corner bump out? Because if the corner bumps out with that running back, now the corner's on the running back. Now you just put a linebacker on their number 1 receiver, and now you put them in a terrible matchup. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those situations where it can be really fun to mess with if you're just using empty as a package. And I've seen tons of coaches do a great job of that. For me, being as 5 wide as it is, so the greatest analogies I love to use for this is, okay, so Josh, say you were interviewing me and I was a wing T coach, right? So if I'm a wing T coach, the first thing I'm going to tell you is the reason we do wing T is because people we play don't see it. Okay, I mean, it's the same thing for 5 wide. Right. So it's like they'll see spread teams, but it's like, the 5 wide's not the spread to me. The 5 wide's a whole other animal. So it's like you're not going to see the 5 wide because the 5 wide is, you can play a spread team that, maybe they have 4 receivers on the field all the time. Maybe they have a tight end and 3 receivers. It doesn't matter if they're in the shotgun. You could do it from under center. It's just that percentage of I'm running 60% of the time, passing 4% of the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really because the personnel package is the same. Yep. How you're using shotgun, you could be implementing a read or something. It could be a little different, but it's in the sense it's, you're preparing for that in a different state of mind. You're putting maybe 6 or 7 in the box.
Yep.
It's going to be different. When you're going 5 wide, I'm putting 5 guys out. My screens are runs. The only run I got the QB draw, and I'm passing 90% of the time, probably 95% of the time if I want. So it's like, it's a whole nother deal. You're pulling out, 2 of your D tackles, you're pulling out another linebacker. You're just saying, okay, we got to have 7 DBs this game. It's like we're bringing down Johnny from the freshman team, because we don't have that many DBs, So it's just it puts you in a world of just like you are not familiar with it. Some teams, may be more familiar with it. You may be in a district where you play. You have 3 teams that are pretty spread. They like to throw the ball, so it's like a little familiar with it, but it's still in a situation where it's like it just puts them in a really hard spot. So that's why I love it, because I think it goes for anything. The wing T wing T, flex bone, just really unconventional old school stuff. It puts defenses in really weird spots, and it does. And one of my first loves was a triple option. I grew up, my high school days were right by the Air Force Academy, so. They were, triple option all the time. So that was the first offense I grew up studying. So it's like I see firsthand, because those academies at the college level, that's the only way they're successful. If those academies lined up and tried to throw the ball 30 times a game, man, they'd be 0-12 every year. Because they can't, because they're just so much smaller, and it's literally a rule in those academies where you have to be below a certain weight. So it's just like, if they were 5 wide or flex bone, I give props to those guys because they do what they got to do to win, and they do what they do to got to make the defense comfortable. So it's the same thing in those situations. But in particularly for me, I think it could work the same way, as where it's like if I have an offensive lineman who's only 250 and he's 5'10", he's a small kid. Well, I can make him my guard and not have to worry, because he's pass protecting the whole game. He'll be fine as long as he gets a block off, for at least 3 seconds.
Yeah,
and we're fine. Okay, so my next point is get you 5 vertical and horizontal threats immediately at the point of attack. So, another reason why I kind of just fell in love with it was, I started thinking of it as, okay, so 10 personnel. I got 4 receivers and a running back, right? So that's as close to 5 wide as possible, but you still got a running back. So, my thing was like, okay, I got 4 vertical threats, and horizontal, at the line of scrimmage. And then, you still got the running back there. One of the things, the biggest influences that coaches have been told is I want to keep my running back there for at least a 6-man protection. There's been plenty of coaches who told me, it's like, oh, well, we always free release the running back. We always do 5-man protection. So some coaches still do it. I don't know why you just want to go 5 wide at that point, but you're asking the wrong guy. But if the truth is that keep the running back there for 6-man protection, well, then I start thinking about the point where it's like, okay, so they may have 6 in the box at that point. They may match you. Depends, of what style of offense is. So if you have 6 in the box and they bring all 6, where it's like you're matching 6 on 6, or they bring a 7th guy and you got to throw the hot. Okay, so same thing. So it's like if I line up in 5 wide, there, most of the teams, I'm going to see, or 5 wide guys see is, they'll put 4 in the box and they may bring 5, we'll match that, blah, blah, blah. Or there's a 6 that comes and we'll throw the hot. So it's like, it's the same thing. You know, we just make it simpler because we spread the box out. We make the box less. And, you know, usually, you know, most of the time they won't want to bring pressure just, you know, because that's the first thing coaches ask me. It's like, well, you're an empty. You know, what do you do about pressure? Well, it's like, it's not that hard. You know, I teach my 2 inside guys where it's like, you know, if they see the backer inside of them, like, look, if he blitzes, just run a 1-step slant. We'll throw it to you for 5 yards. Next play. You know, and if we don't, we don't. But at least we got the ball off and then throw, you know, didn't take a sack.
Yeah.
It's like I'm smart enough to know where it's like, you know, I'm in empty and the ball's got to be in my quarterback's hands quick. But it's like eventually, you know, they stop doing it, you know, and they only send 3 at you. And what's funny is, you know, the amount of 5-wide film I've watched, you know, coaches are going to learn this too because they just, you know, until you see film, you don't get it of a 5-wide team. You know, they're only sending 3 at you most of the time the whole game. You know, once a team actually, you know, knows how to defend you or, you know, since you're 5 wide, the 5 wide usually is the, like, probably the best offense to have as much time to throw as possible. And I know it almost sounds oxymoron saying that, but it's like, you know, they may be in pressure every now and then, but it's like, you know, you got 5 vertical threats. Yeah. So that gives you even more of a chance to throw the ball like that, you know. So they eventually stop doing it. So they'll only send 3 all the time. So the quarterback just sits there forever, you know, because you got 5 guys blocking 3, you know, and sometimes they bluff their freaking nose guard and you're only sending 2. So it's just, you know, it's unreal, you know. So, but anyways, it gives you, to me, the best possible threat. All right, so I mean, this one kind of just goes off. I was already talking about it. Most DCs, and you know, this has come from almost every coach. You know, Zach Turner, you know, who's the OC at Kenton. You know, Coach Marcus said it. You know, Coach I've talked to at Camington. You know, and I've seen it almost on film all the time. The most popular defense 5-wide guys see is 3-1 boxes, 2 high safeties, and then you get man underneath. Sometimes you'll see zone, but that's the most popular defense by far. So, you know, I put a note here that's where I still build my system to get the ball out quick, and, you know, I try not to depend on, you know, making a play. And what I mean by that is just scrambling around and playing backyard football, even though in some instances that does happen. And if you make a play, you're not going to yell at them for it. But, you know, sometimes it does happen. But I try to teach you to get the ball out quick, just because, again, you know, you see man and you don't want them standing back there forever. Yeah. But it does make DCs really get real vanilla with it. And they treat it as it's 7-on-7. I don't want to think it's 7-on-7 because it's still a contact sport, but that's what it becomes. And there's some different protections that you know, your quarterback can call, but you're mostly your vertical setting most of the time, just because you only got 3 guys coming in. Your guards are just going to duo with the tackles or help with the nose or, you know, whatever the case is. So this is a little note I put in here for any of the coaches that worry about the moms yelling at them. It's probably one of the most less contact driven offenses you can run. At least that's what I've learned. You know, it's very wide open. You know, this is the best way I can put it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, again, you know, you're not pounding it in the power eye every down. You know, not nearly as much head-to-head stuff. Tackles still do happen, but it's not nearly as contact driven. And it's not saying that it's a soft offense or anything like that, because, you know, I'm not saying that by any means. It's just, you know, I put in parentheses, it's just less concussion driven. And it causes so many less injuries that I've dealt with before. So, you know, I found that really helpful. And then the last one, it's incredibly fun to practice. It keeps kids loose in grass. And what I mean by that is just, this offense is just, I found just, it's so fun to practice, man. It's just like, you know, it's organized. It's an organized offense, but it's going to feel like backyard football. And that's what you want. You know, one of the best quotes I've gotten from a coach is like, if you're driving by a playground, what are you going to see kids doing when they're playing football? Are you going to see them handing it off? Hell no. You're going to see them throwing the ball.
Yeah.
So it's fun because they can keep it loose. You're still doing things as a coach who would like, well, if they're playing me, they're soft, or their backers kind of playing inside leverage, we'll throw the bubble, or if 3rd and 12, well, I'm thinking 4 verts here, whatever the case is. You're still thinking like that as a coach, and you're kind of still driving that as a practice. But I found ways to where it's like, we can practice a couple drills to work on routes, but then after that, you're this offense you kind of just practice it as you're going scrimmages and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be the full contact, but you want to do it against live defenses because every different day. A Monday, we're practicing like minus 30 to plus 30, and then we're working on just first downs, or first and second down, or blah blah blah. You can work on all kinds of different situations and what you're thinking, or you're spending the day working on just a set of plays. You can spend 20 minutes in a scrimmage just saying, okay, well, we're this is just a screen series, but we can still go like a bubble and go, so the defense doesn't know what's coming. So it's like all kinds of different stuff. But it's just fun. I love having music on at practice. And then, what I mean by keep loose in grass is kids just, I have that saying where, like keep loose. So it's like, the kids stay loose. They don't feel as uptight about anything because it's, we're not asking 7 guys to make a down block or make a specific block or something like that. So, it's a lot of fun. And I think kids can, stay loose with what they do, and not have to be uptight about the offense.
Interesting.
All right, so let me go to this. Let's go here. So I want to put this up just because give a brief idea of kind of what I'm thinking, what I do. Most of the time I'm doing 3x2. I like putting quads in there. Quads can be fun as long as you can blend in your base concepts with it. What's funny is most of the time I'm not trying to think super wide splits, and that's why I say it's not necessarily really spread or anything like that, because it's just I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking spread the defense out. I'm trying to get the best angle possible to get the ball out quick and make it easy for my quarterback. And the way I have this drawn up now is like, it can look tight, on film, so like, my field number 1, maybe +1, +2 of the hash, but it's like, I'll tell him that's his base split, but I'm also going to be like, well, you do what you need to do if you're running an out here, or, widen it if you're running a slant. It's one of those deals where it's like, that's the keep loose, saying that I throw around, is where it's like, I'm going to keep it loose with him. He can keep it loose with his angle, because it's like he's getting the best position possible to win on the route. Now I'll coach him up in film, be like, okay, you can be in this spot maybe if you want to, you don't, like John, you don't need to be almost hugging the sideline to run a slant. You don't need to be that wide, So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you can fine tune it, but I'm not going to press him about it. So I did want to draw up at least one play here. So one of my favorite
things. I'm really intrigued. This is something I definitely want to know more about.
So one of the base plays that I picked up from Ken, and just it seems like every 5 wide team has. So if anyone's considering going 5 wide, or anyone wants to go anything out to empty, I think this is a screen that everyone needs. I love it. It's the middle tunnel screen. So, I don't want to confuse anyone from like a jailbreak or a now screen. It's just real nasty. So the way I love to do it is what I'll teach. I'll teach it as, the number 2 running it to the field. So like he'll stutter 1 step, and then like he'll kind of banana back. He'll be about 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and then, he'll catch it somewhere in this vicinity. So, and then my guys are almost kind of blocking this, like, now steps. So they'll kind of, that's the right thing. So he'll kind of push crack. And then, the Z kind of doesn't need to be involved over here. We're kind of blocking someone on an island because, the tunnels ended up in the middle over here. So he'll kind of take 3, and then he's going to go get a safety. And then what we're teaching over here is our like. So, we'll have a bubble attached over here. I can, what I teach, my number one over here is, in this sense, kind of just match his steps. So if he takes 3 back pedal steps, after I take 3 steps, then I'm just going to push back, because then there's no point in getting him and he's going to go on an island. And then I'm going to have my bubble attached over here. I can also attach a now screen over here where the number 1 runs a now and then the number 2 will block the corner. We can do that too. It just depends on what we like that week.
Yep.
So I'll have a bubble attached too. And then I can also flip-flop this, and my number 1 on the boundary can run the tunnel, and then we'll run the bubble to the number 3 here. So it gives the quarterback an option. He'll open his hips up towards the bubble first.
Yep.
And then he'll look towards the tunnel. The reason I do that is just because if they bring some kind of fast pressure, or if he feels like this bubble is just open now, he'll throw that. And if he throws that, I'm not going to be mad at him, just because he feels like, he has the grass there. And that's what we teach him. If he feels like it's gray, or, he feels like he's hesitating in his head, then don't throw it. He's got to know without a doubt. The way I teach it is, when in doubt, just throw the tunnel.
Yep.
So what will happen here is then tackles will sift back, and they're just really trying to keep these guys to the outside. They want to just, make them get as wide as possible. And messed up there. So they want to get wide, and then so what eventually happen on this, banana route is that he's going to, screw it up again. He's going to get behind this end, when he comes up field, and he'll eventually work up the field, and he'll get something going like that.
Yep.
So what will happen here is, see if I can type stuff. All right. So this Will here, he'll be, we count this. So like the guard, he's going to, step back for a second, just a slight step back. We don't send back too far because we don't want him to lose ground. And then he'll head upfield, and he wants to get the first guy outside. So this guy, we're going to start the count with the mic. So the mic is the 0, and then to the left would be the 1, and the right would be the 2. So the guard's responsibility is 1. So he's looking at that Will. And then the center. So since this nose is shading him, it's easy for him. So he's just going to let him, go to the right. If he's ever head up with him, then I just tell him, it's like, let him pick his side. Just get him past you. It's like, just take a step back, let him get past you. Don't worry. Don't play with him. Don't dance. This isn't, the Gala League. Don't worry about it. So same thing here. All right, and then he's just worried about number 2, which would be the Sam. The Sam may, bite on this. We're not too worried about it, because we want, the Y to get underneath. As far as, this tackle gets him, if, the A, he can also change to get the Sam if he feels like he's a threat. We'll tell him, to get the most dangerous guy.
Yep.
So I know where he's getting, this guy labeled as the nickel, but it's the most dangerous man. So this gets real nasty just because the way this ends up, he could go a billion different ways, but if I can get this, he'll end up, coming somewhere here. He may go underneath the center or something like that. It just, I love this play. I love it. For any 5 wide enthusiast out there, any empty guys, this is just, I don't really even throw this against pressure. I can, but I'll throw it against 3 guys coming in and stuff like that. It's just it's an easy way to get yards. It's just a high percentage throw, and you get blockers in front. We're doing quick throws all the time, anyways, most of the time. And I want my guys, get my guys downfield, just because. And what makes it easy is because since my guards are uncovered, it also makes it easy to run QB draws because the guards are uncovered, so the guards can just, they don't even have to take a step back. As soon as the ball snaps, they're going on the field. My quarterback will just, I'll have a bubble or an out pre-snap RPO attached, and he'll check it and go. It's the same thing here, except they'll take a step back just to invite some pressure, and then they'll go and they want to make it look like a pass as much as possible, just because we kind of want these guys to drop, because we want to get the blockers up there just so they that banana can get underneath them. So we kind of want to invite that, and we want to invite pass draw. So that's the idea here. Quarterback draw, I could care less, what we invite or what we don't. But this to me, it's great, especially if you're feeling like, they're sending like 8 guys or 7 guys into coverage. That's a great way to hit them underneath. So I think more of this is hitting them underneath coverage and more so as a pressure blitz beater, because I think that's what a lot of guys think for screens is like if blitz is coming through the screen. It's like not necessarily. You can. It's a perfect way to beat zone coverage. You can still beat it with man. You just really got to teach it right. You got to know when to throw it. So if you're seeing man, you just got to know the angles. You got to know that weakest. Like, well, if they're going to put the Sam real tight, where it's like, well, I would teach my number 3 here to go get the Sam instead. So it's like just know who the most dangerous man to get is. Know who you can leave. You may teach the corner for whatever reason may be real nasty and may be able to sneak under it. So we'll tell the Z, we'll just get the corner this week. I have no problem doing that. It's just a game plan thing. When I game plan, I don't game plan as like I'm going to draw 20 new plays. Or it's like this works great against this great works against this. Your new 19-year-old GA might do that, but it's like you as a coach can't do that. What I'm doing is like, okay, I'm gonna, I have maybe 10 base plays. So it's like, okay, at a tunnel, what are we tweaking to make it great? It's like, okay, well, to the boundary, they're playing their corner super soft, and we feel like we'll just get the net. Well, okay, well, I'll touch a now this week instead of a bubble, and then the Sam's peeking, so we'll teach number 3 to block him, or we'll make flip flop and say, okay, we'll run tunnel to the boundary side this week. So it's like, do anything and everything. I can, if I want, I can put, the trips into the boundary. Hardly do it. I'll do it if I need to. Yep. Trips into the boundary I found is, a great way to, make, if they're playing man really well, it'll back them off a little bit. If you play trips into the boundary, because it just creates a natural rub. So, there's just, if that's another coaching tip to people out there, whether you're in 5 wide, whether you're in the wishbone, make little tweaks to what you have already. You might get to week 3, week 4 where you want to install something new. Or my advice would be, well, if you're going to install something new, that play better been something you had been planning to install, since the summer. It's just something you have in your back pocket. Don't pull something you saw out on a Saturday and be like, okay, well, I learned this 2 days ago. Well, let's do it. It's like, no, like you had better known that for months. You were just waiting for the right time to install it. You got to have a game plan for the whole season. Be like, I like this play. We're not going to talk about till week 4. Well, if it's like, well, if you're 2-2, don't worry about it right now. Know what you're good at, and if you're not getting great at it, wait till you get great at what you have, and then install something new. So this is one play that just a great example of that. I'm not worrying about any kind of other fancy screen, some kind of fake jet throwback thing until I can perfect this. Yeah. I'll worry about the tweaks, or I'll worry about the new stuff, later on in the season. But I want to perfect stuff like this. I want to perfect my slant bubble. I want to perfect my forwards. It's being a perfectionist. One quote I live by, and all coaches should live by, is don't be good at a lot of things. Be great at a few things. And that, that's the greatest, I think, as one good piece of advice I can leave, with any coach, leaving this, this video, is that, it's just like, I could be good at a lot. It's funny. I've sat in clinics and coaches live by that. Coaches are like, well, we'll be good at a lot. And they're like, well, you also have 20 athletes going Division I. Like you can afford to do that. And I'm sitting here, and my quarterback, is 5'11", 170. And he looks like a toothpick. But it's like, I can't afford to do that. And I know there's so many coaches who are going to watch this and can relate. So it's just like there's so many great plays out there, man. I know it's one of the reasons why we love football. It's just because it's like the X's and O's is so fun, and that's what makes coaching fun. It's one of the best parts about it. But it's also, you have to limit yourself, and I had to learn that the hard way. And I was always trying to do way too much. It's always fun to look at 300-page NFL playbooks, and that's always fun. But it's making it easier for your kids is like we can run 10 plays, and it's not just because it's keeping it simple. That's the main point. Because my kids can remember it, but it's like the repetitions is the biggest part.
Yep.
Coaches will find real quick, it's boring as hell. It is. Like, we all know that. But, I'm going to run tunnel 30 times in practice, but it's like so what? We're coming perfect at it.
Mm.
We could run it 25 times, and Big Bobby over there is still missing, his block on the number 2. So it's like, I want to perfect that.
Yeah.
I want to fix the little things. So it's like, if I can perfect the little things, I'll be great at it in a game, and I could run it 10 times, and these kids just ran it 30 times in practice. Well, guess what? We're probably going to get plus 5 yards on at
Mm.
least 6 or 7 of those. I'll
Mm.
take that production every time.
Yeah.
So it's taken the long time to get the big results. So that's my little rant on that.
Very, very relevant, I think, especially during this quarantine period. We're all learning a bunch of new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and football this season will be very interesting
Yeah,
for coaches trying to implement all this new stuff.
yeah,
I had a couple of questions
yeah,
because I am really interested in five wide.
yeah.
So I currently am known as a flexbone coach,
Okay.
and that's purely for a similar reason why you're five wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's different. Um,
Yep.
in Australia, we have everyone sort of runs that power spread offense. I'm sure
Yep.
it's the same over there. Everyone, they may be four wide, but they're running power read, counter, inside zone, zone read.
Auburn type offense. I get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, so and the flexbone just gives us something really different.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see under center. People don't see such quick hitting plays.
Mm-hmm.
And we're known for kicking a ball, not throwing it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit easier to teach someone to make a read and pitch it like we do in rugby than to spend a lot of time with such limited practice trying to throw so often. But in this, do you see much one high, or do you see almost exclusively two high?
Sometimes I've seen it every now and then, but I mean, over the amount of film I've watched, the defenses I've seen, it's always been too high.
Cool.
What's funny is we just I expected this point. One of the things about being different, and since you're flexible, and I know you can relate, is it's like one of those deals where it's like if you have a bunch of game film. It's week 6 of the season. You may have 4 or 5 game films on a team, but it's like if they're not seeing flex point or five wide in any of their films, it's like you have really no clue what they're going to show against you.
Yep.
So, it's one of those deals where it's like, especially since there's a ton of spread teams here in Texas, it's like, I have a good idea, what they're going to show against me,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also keep open-minded just because it's like, there might have been a reason why they went one high that week. They may be a cover 3 team, but they might have done a lot of robber for that week for this certain team for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
They might have had press corners. They might have said play man that week. Everyone's got a man package, and they might have did it that week just because they felt like their guys were better. So it's just like week to week, you can see different things where it's like, they're doing it for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get a good idea what they're going to do. I'll get a good idea what their guys are. But it's like the thing about that I love about what I do in the five wide is it's like we're still going to do what we do. We know that each of our concepts are built in, for a man answer and a zone answer. And what I mean by that is like, if I teach my guy to run, some kind of route, whatever it is, if it's a 5-yard in or something,
Mm-hmm.
he knows he can throttle down in grass if it's zone or if he's walled off. If it's man, he'll just keep going. It's not incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's one of those things where if a lot of guys ask me where it's like, okay, well, you're putting different concepts each side where it's like, okay, well, are you doing that for a man and zone or he throws in the man side and zone side where it's like, well, no, because like I have answers built into each route.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily like the reason why I'll pair concepts is because one high, two high, but it's not necessarily like kind of what I'll teach my quarterback. It's just like if going into the game,
Mm.
most of the time we won't know. So that's the reason why I do that, where it's like, well, slot fade's a good one, high beater. We may have, I don't know, slant bubble on this side for a 2 high beat or something.
Yep.
So it's like, if he's seeing 2 high, where it's like, just think the slant bubble, blah, blah, blah. Some point in the game, second, third quarter, I may tell him, or it's like, check the slot fade side. Just, if the corner's playing off, you can throw the hitch real quick, or, quick little note, whatever. So it's like, it's one of those, I don't know. It's just one of those deals where it's like, we'll go into a game most of the time expecting 2 high. If I see 1 high, I have an answer for it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals where it's like, you don't know what's coming, but you do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely the same. It's more what I have to think what junk defense or what defense of the week am I going against, because most of the time they've just Googled defense to stop the flex bone or defense to stop the triple option, and they've adjusted that. So I definitely get what you mean there.
Yeah, the way most of the time the way I'll practice it is just every week is almost the same thing. If you've been with that same team and you're going the next year, one thing that's helpful is like, if the same DCE is, if you're playing Team C that week, and they have the same DC from last year, you can go look back at the film, your same film, and they'll pretty much keep the same way. They might change it, but at least you'll have a better idea. And that most of the time for us, that's better than watching, trying to figure out what they're doing against other teams who don't run the 5 wide.
Yeah.
So what I'll do in practice is just like, if it's a game week, throw up what they threw at you last year, or if you're going in blind, you just throw up, the 4 or 5 basic generic defenses you'll see against 5 wide, and you just rep it. And so your kids are familiar with it, your quarterback's familiar with it. And so once he sees that defense, he's like, oh, this is so-and-so. He processes in 2 seconds, snap the ball, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So that's just how we do it,
Cool. And second question, do you happen to have a lot of QB runs, different types, or do you just stick with the QB draw as such?
It's something I've played with. Draw is the only thing I got right now. I've considered like putting some kind of inside zone in. The only reason I've considered doing that is because like I kind of want to put like a little short yardage package in, like a little, I think I got it from Cliff Kingsbury. It's a short yardage. When he goes under center, he does a lot of fly jet sweep stuff.
Right.
So I've considered doing that, pairing that with inside zone, old Matt Canada stuff. But that's the only reason. And whenever I consider putting in another run, it's like, okay, well, I want to do this for 2 reasons. It's like, I want to use it for maybe short yardage package, or maybe I'm pairing it with a jet sweep or something. So it's like, or maybe for whatever reason I'm motioning a running back into the backfield. I don't really want to do it, but it's like, it's just those reasons where it's like, I'm not just going to do it to say, well, it's like we're just going to run quarterback inside zone. It's like I need a couple more reasons on why I'm installing this, because inside zone it's not easy to install. You're using practice time on that. So it's like, I would, rather put more reps on the stuff that we are going to do than just stall something and just, only, do it a certain amount of time. Yep. So, if I'm going to use it for short yardage, then great, but, I need like 2-3 solid reasons on why I'm going to put it in. But inside zone, I've come close to it, still considering it. I've considered putting in gap, maybe like a counter scheme. One of the reasons why I've been convinced on doing that is because I've been always a believer in when you're practicing something. So like, say your starting defense is practicing, right? And now you have scout offense. So like the biggest thing is like your scout defense, your main defense may be seeing, a big power team that week, and you got to perfect power on scout offense. The only thing that sucks is it's like, well, you don't run power in your offense. So it's like your guards aren't going to be used to doing that. They're not going to know what the hell a pull is. So it's like most of the time you'll have O-line coaches getting in there and just, they'll do the pull. They know how to do it. Shit, I've had to do it. It's just like, it happens, but it's But it's funny because it's like that's the main reasons why I've considered about having gap schemes is small stuff like that. Like counter's a great play to have. I fucking love counter. I haven't had a reason to do it.
Yeah.
But like that the whole scout team thing, like it can be a bigger issue than you think. Because it's just like you're gonna look like a bunch of fifth graders doing it, and then when you get into the game, they're gonna smacking them out for power.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like maybe someone has found a better way to do it for their scout team, but like that's one reason why I've done it. It's just because it's like at least we're practicing pulling, but I'm also not just going to install it just for that reason.
Yeah.
I got to do it on offense personally. So, but to answer your question, I've considered inside zone and counter, but I haven't gotten to the point where I want to install it yet. It takes a lot for me to want to do that, and that goes for anything to go out of my base round, just because it's like I need. If a coach were to come with me and just be like, well, hey man, let's install mesh, or it's like, well, I need give me at least 5 solid reasons why should we install mesh. Just don't tell me we should install mesh.
Yeah.
Like, I need like 5 solid reasons. Well, it's like, well, it can beat man, it can beat zone, where it's like, that's great. Do you know how freaking expensive it is to install mesh? Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, for anything, I need a good solid list of reasons why it's like, A, how's it going to work for us on offense? B, how much practice time is it going to take? Is it going to take us away from our base stuff? C, is it going to become a base play or just a compliment? So it's like, if it can fit into those 3 categories and it like meshes well together, then I'll definitely consider it. But I also have to know how to do it as a coach. So that's at that point, that's why I go to other coaches who know what the hell they're doing. And, I'll be like, how do you do this? And it's a long process to install one play, but I'll take that. I'll take that sacrifice just because it's, you don't want to just go in there thinking, well, I think I know how to run this play, and then just go out there and get to your kids. And then your kids are look stupid doing it because you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't mean to rant about that, but it's, I think that's a really important, for a coach to know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, again, thank you for being on and chatting. It's definitely got me thinking. So I'll probably do what I'm about to tell everyone else to do, and that's to give you a follow on Twitter, and if you have any questions, shoot you a message, because I'm definitely interested in seeing what 5-wide can do, and who knows, maybe change up from the flexbone every now and then.
Hey man, anyone ever wants to talk empty anything, I'm always up for it, man. I love what I do, but I'm blessed to have what I do. Anyone can sit down on on a chalkboard and look what's good, but you gotta have your base stuff, and I love saying let the ball fly, but you got to do it in a sense of where it's simple. So anyone wants to DM me on Twitter, email me, man. Like, always go for it. I'm always want to talk football and help coaches out. I don't have anything else better to do right now, so you'd be helping me out.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Yep. Well, thanks again, and guys, check down below in the description for all Coach Robinson's details. And if you like this kind of stuff, give it a like, subscribe, share, comment, and let's get after it.